the all-powerful Ultimate X has arisen from the darkness, being consumed by the dark multiverse's very being, and now endowed with new godly, invincible powers that trump even the mightiest in the multiverse. Goku and Xenogoku look at each other in sheer terror as their powers combined couldn't even scratch him, as he then just merely blinks and destroys nearly all of the warriors fighting the dark multiverse, the positive multiverse, even the time patrollers. Everyone here is in total disarray, and there's nothing they could do to stop him against this kind of power. However, this is also where Zeno has finally sped up his training abilities and has mastered his full power and has evolved himself, and he can now transform into his ultimate form, but he doesn't yet. He then takes off, and before he does, he lands on the battlefield and wipes out a ton of them and brings back some of the time patrollers to give us a fight, to give them a fighting chance. He then races in with everybody else and rejuvenates the Supreme Kai, and then rejuvenates the old god of destruction of time, which makes him very, very powerful. However, they're questioning as to how they are even alive, and Zeno says to just leave it to him. He could take him on. It won't be easy, but he could do it. He knows he can. Goku and Xenogoku look at each other and decide that they need to give Zeno some space. So they release a powerful ki wave, blowing everyone back. Ultimate X is now just a rampaging, mindless monster as Alien X inside and the dark multiverse's entity are fighting for power and control over the body. The power is there. Like they could destroy everything if they felt like it, but they don't have full total control yet. However, the Ultimate X looks at Zeno and they both stare at each other, and Zeno decides that enough is enough, and he transforms into his ultimate form, his true power, his true form Zeno, and is ready to take on Ultimate X. He then powers up and they get into a massive duel, which, by the way, the next little bit of clips are going to be presented by Mastar Media. So, Zeno and Ultimate X, initially their power is so great that they are just merely walking and destroying the entire landscape. Nothing that anyone can do can stop them, and they're the most powerful beings in the universe, in the multiverse right now. And they're wanting to find out what's beyond that. However, they're just too strong for any one multiverse to handle, and they keep pushing and pushing until they eventually break out into hand-to-hand combat. They fly all around the battlefield, battling each other and racing back and forth, destroying much of the landscape, even killing some of the Kryptonians and the dark multiverse forces and the time patrollers as they do fight. Not much care as to what they're doing. However, Zeno is handicapped because he has to use some of his power while he's fighting to repair some of the damages, and the other power to keep on the offensive against Ultimate X. So he's really in between a rock and a hard place. However, despite suffering many damages such as being cut in half or having his arm cut off or whatnot like that, he'll regenerate and come back. However, he is tiring. It's a Golden Frieza case. Basically, he unlocked this form, which he is at an insurmountable level of power, but he has not fully been able to master it and use it to the best of his ability. So he's a little bit handicapped by that. Ultimate X, however, is evolving and getting stronger, not only fighting off of his own energy and his own power, but also fighting with the dark multiverse within, and I'm going to take a side note while the fighting is going on. The dark multiverse, I kind of just shoehorned that in there, but I felt like it was worth explaining. The dark multiverse, at least to me and my what-ifs, as far as I'm concerned, it is basically the flip side of the multiverse. Like, there's the normal one where Zeno created everything, and then there's the normal main timeline and stuff like that, and then there's like an infinite number of timelines. The dark multiverse works the same way, except the multiverse could have been made by anyone. It could have been made by Zeno. It could have been made by Popo. It could have been made by Goku. And then it has its own branching timelines. Basically, it's like the worst possible scenarios, like the Goku who laughs, or what if Frieza became like an Omni King or something like that. Like just random stuff like that. Well, deep behind that is the dark multiverse's main entity, like the being that represents it. It's like if cheese has its own, like if the subject of cheese had its own body and could walk around, that's basically what the dark multiverse entity is. And it's been chained up, and the positive has just been sitting on top of it. The positive has its own entity too, and it might possibly come into play. Let's see down in the lower depths of the battlefield that Rao has got the Goku who laughs, and is sitting there with him, telling him that it was a close call, and it was lucky that he was there to save him. There's nothing that he could have done against Super Saiyan 10 Xeno Goku. What was he thinking? The Goku who laughs just laughs, actually, and decides that this was a good thing. He wasn't intending on defeating Xeno Goku. He was just intending on making him angry enough to do that, so he can now evolve his power. Remember, he's still a Saiyan, and now with his Joker toxin, his crazy factor, quotation marks, has amped up the Zenkai. Now he's shot up in power, and he got a Zenkai from it, and so he's much, much, much stronger now. And he decides to power up himself, and he's like, well, since he can't beat Xeno Goku, he is still angry about that, but that did hurt a lot. He's going to get back at him the only way he knows how, by getting his family. And Rao says that that's a fine idea. He doesn't care about the plan now. The master has lost his way. So if he does kill Rao, then who cares? Rao then takes off, and so does Goku, the Goku who laughs, and dives in, and they immediately jump Kara, which is Supergirl. They start beating down on her and send her rocketing through planets, which they start cornering her. Gohanna and Rao catch themselves, and they see their mom getting cornered and whatnot like that, and they're like, oh my god, we better get over there, we gotta help, we gotta do something to save our mom, like, she's gonna die if we don't do something. And so Rao powers up to Super Saiyan 4 and embeds his Kryptonian genes. Gohanna does the same thing and powers up to Super Saiyan Rose and embeds her Saiyan genes with her Kryptonian. They then stand together and rush in to help their mama. And as they get there, Rao then, hammer strikes Rao and sends him flying through the debris, and Gohanna comes in and saves Supergirl from the Goku who laughs. They stand there ready to take her on, and Rao says that they seem to misunderstand something, much like how Yamoshi first had his own bloodline with the Vegeta family. The reason that Rao leads the Kryptonians isn't because of just his sheer power. Anyone can have the normal power of the Kryptonians. It takes a whole nother thing to master it. And then he powers up, getting a red aura around him and glowing with energy. He then races in at all three of them and starts beating the tar of them, and specifically going for Supergirl. Xeno Goku sees this and wants to come in and stop him. However, he's being overwhelmed by the army of other creatures battling throughout the Gohanna. Gohanna then is beating down on the Goku who laughs and tearing him up as she tells him to leave her mama alone. And then Rao comes in and battles Rao and tells him to leave their mama alone. And they just keep tearing him up. And Supergirl admires them, and she summons all of her energy into herself and uses a technique that Superman rarely ever uses. I think it's the Super Flare, which basically means that she uses up all of her energy in her body and explodes with a massive amount of energy that she's condensed into herself. Like, all the sun energy blows up like a bomb, which she begins doing here. However, Gohana and Rayo look back and they're like, hey, you really shouldn't do that. We're in a battlefield. You do that and you'll be powerless for the rest of the fight. And there's other forces we got to worry about. I mean, what are you doing? And Kara says that she isn't just using her own energy, her own solar energy into it. She's using her life energy too. She's going to make sure her kids are safe. She's going to make sure she gets the mission done. And she wants them to be happy. Stop Ultimate X no matter what. She then races in, glowing with energy, and grabs Rao and the Goku who laughs and rockets them into the heart of all this darkness, and even gets close enough to Ultimate X and explodes with all that massive power in their faces, destroying everything around it, even killing the Goku who laughs and a lot of the other dark forces. Much to everyone's horror, all Gohana and Rayo can do is just watch as the pieces of all the people that Kara had managed to kill fade away, and they see nothing they could have done to stop this. However, Xenogoku takes it the hardest and watches. He then looks down deep into his soul and roars with Kryptonian power. Now, when I say that, I don't mean he's Kryptonian. I mean that he's channeling rage as, like, in spirit of the Kryptonians, which is like a spiritual upgrade, like how they did with Ultra Instinct in the manga, because Ultra Instinct sucks. But, that happens. He roars with power and looks at everything around him, and he powers up a powerful Kamehameha. However, normal Goku tries to warn him to stop. He can't do this. He'll kill some of the time patrollers. And Xenogoku says, I don't care that they took her from me. I'm going to take them from this entire existence. Whether they're good, bad, or on our side or not, I'm going to do it. And then he fires it. However, main Goku tries to stop it with his own power and deflects it. And Xenogoku begins taking out his rage on Goku, which now we have another scrapple going on. So lovely. Rayo and Gohana begin to try to pick themselves up and calm themselves down, and they look at their father and they need to go help him until they see Rao floating down in his still glowing form, and they see this and immediately boil with rage, as none of this would have happened if Rao hadn't have joined up with Alien X to begin with. And so they get so mad and they power up to their fullest power and race in at Rao and begin beating the absolute tar out of him. Like left, right. Like if Rao manages to get a hit in one, the other like comes in and breaks a bone or something. Like they are literally becoming like a massacre. Like this is on the same level as Thrag versus Battle Beast. Like they are destroying him left and right, and there's nothing he can do to really get out of it. And they decide that if they are going to do anything to him, it's not going to be kill him. And they're like, okay, we'll show you a wrath worse than ours. Grabs him by the shoulders, and they both fly up in unison and throw him in between both of the Gokus for Xenogoku to see. Main Goku gets Xeno's attention Xenogoku's attention and tells him, like, dude, you gotta stop this. Look at him. This is the guy that caused all this. If he hadn't have joined up with Alien X to begin with, none of this would have been happening. You wouldn't have lost Kara. If anything, this is his fault. Take out your rage on him, because surely to God, those two can't kill him. No offense. But they can't kill him. This is your chance to get some revenge, and then we'll work together and get the other revenge. Xenogoku's barely listening to reason, and he stops for a second, and main Goku tells him, I have a plan. Take out your rage on him for now. I have a plan. We can save this. We can work this out. We can bring her back. And Goku stops for a minute and then releases all of his remaining rage right at Rao, completely incinerating him as his two kids watch on and smile as they finally got revenge on him. And so they then look at him, and Xenogoku calms down enough, and before anyone can say anything, Xenogoku reverts back to base form as he's burned up way too much energy getting that angry. He looks at Mangoku and tells him, okay, what's the plan? You said you had one. I'm all ears. Whatever gets Supergirl back, I'm all ears for. Just tell me what to do. And Goku says that he's going to have to work with him right now. They have to use something that he never thought that they would have to use again. And Xenogoku questions what? And he says the Batara. They need to fuse and make a new warrior, or they'll use the Metamoran dance and make a new warrior. And Xenogoku questions a double Goku, a merged Goku, and even the brother and sister are confused. They're like, what? Like, why would they need to, or why would they do that? I mean, and the main Goku says that this would give them a significant power boost. Possibly if they can unite their energies like Super Saiyan 10 and Omni Super Saiyan like he's got, they can bolster their powers to on the same level as Ultimate X. And even if the fusion will only last 30 seconds, then that means they can still have 30 seconds to defeat him. They have to do something. They could power up a ultimate attack and completely kill him. But they need to work together on this. Don't be like Vegeta and argue. And Xenogoku's already like, okay, what's the next step? And Ryo and Gohana say, hey, wait a minute, we want to do something. What can we do to help? And Goku looks at them and says, actually, he's already got a plan for them. He tells them that they're going to fuse and become the strongest Saiyan to ever live by combining the powers of Super Saiyan Love and Super Saiyan 4 and their Kryptonian sides together. They would make an entirely new power. Plus, the Love 4, like Super Saiyan Love 4, embedded with the Kryptonianism and like the power up from it, they might just be powerful enough to make a dent and keep Ultimate X busy, as they didn't see full power Zeno being thrown around by Ultimate X, telling him that there's nothing they could do against this kind of power. Like, he is like the dark god. There's nothing no one can do. And the two Gokus look at each other and are like, okay, we're going to fuse, we're going to do this. And so they race off to go perform it or go find the rings, or the earrings. Ryo and Gohana look at each other and they're like, well, never figured we'd be doing this again. And they begin to do the dance. And they finally do, and they touch fingertips, before you dirty commenters. And they fuse into one ultimate being and erupt with amazing power. Rayahana, the ultimate warrior in their base form, is easily more powerful than every other combatant on the field currently, even Super Saiyan 10 Goku or Omni Goku. And excluding Ultimate X and Zeno, because those guys are still stronger than everybody else. They then decide that they need to make a good blow on Ultimate X so that their father could have a chance at killing him. So they decide to do their ultimate technique. The Dance of the Sun, an old Kryptonian technique. They twirl around and they race into battle, stopping Ultimate X from killing Zeno, and they kick him, and then they dance over and punch him, and do it over and over and over again until they've thrown him off balance, and the being can't possibly control what he's doing anymore. He's becoming more and more of a rabid beast with every blow, until finally they kick him up into the air and shout Dragon Fist and soar in at him at tremendous speed as a mighty dragon follows them, and then they shout times 100 as hundreds and hundreds of dragons soar in behind it, and like they swallow. Some of them swallow the other dragons and get bigger and bigger, and then they finally all collect into her fist, or their fist, and smash into Ultimate X, exploding in a massive explosion. And as they do finally hit Ultimate X with all that power, they diffuse as they return to their base forms and float down into the abyss below. Ultimate X is spewing up blood and leaking a lot of cosmic energy, and is about to turn over and evaporate them two for doing that, until Zeno hears the other Goku shout, it's ready, and power up the most powerful Kamehameha in all of existence, as they have now fused into making a Super Saiyan Omni 10. Yes, I know it's insane, but I feel like making it because why not? They power up the most powerful Kamehameha as Zeno decides to make the ultimate sacrifice. He was made to do this. He has to do this. He holds Ultimate X in place and doesn't let him move. He has him tightly wrapped around, and there's nowhere for him to go. And then they see the massive Kamehameha get fired by merged Gokus, and it finally hits them and incinerates them both, instantly killing them and destroying Ultimate X once and for all, along with Zeno, and even cracking the dark multiverse as well as the positive multiverse, leaving all the other creatures of the dark multiverse in shambles, and everyone else completely tired out as the two Gokus defuse, and everyone else calms down and diffuses. And even Supreme Kai of Time powers down back to her normal form, as they're all given out and they have no chance of possibly escaping this. They'll need some time to be able to fix it, but right now they're going to rest up in this chaotic void they call their multiverse right now. However, that is when they hear a rumble from the ground below. They finally see the true dark multiversal being's entity itself, the one that was inside Ultimate X and possessed him, in its full glory. However, it does not have a physical form. It is cosmic and spiritual, and begins eating down on all of time and space and all of the dimensions they are currently residing in. It's going to expand and influence the entire collective multiverse, and there's nothing that anyone can do to stop him, until Supreme Kai decides that they need to stop him. However, everyone is completely drained of all energy, and the highest anyone could reach at this point is Super Saiyan, if that. And the Supreme Kai says that they're not thinking correctly. The Supreme Kai tells them that do they know why that the Saiyans and Kryptonians are always so paired together? And they assume that it's because of the similar origins and Superman and Goku being so similar yet becoming so very different. And she tells them they're right. However, what they fail to notice is that they used to be the same race. The Kryptonians and the Saiyans used to be the same race. And until two of the brothers that led that race at the moment was split apart due to the ways they wanted to lead things. Those leaders turned out to be Yamoshi and Rao. They divided the race to those who would like to follow them, and through time they entered an evolution. Very different evolutions, but evolutions nonetheless. However, the one difference was that Yamoshi learned how to tap into the powers of a god through bonding together and ki control, which made them, the Saiyans, on the same level as the Kryptonians, since the Kryptonians are just a naturally stronger race under Rao. However, Yamoshi's people were more versatile and primal and had further evolution properties. But the same can be argued for a Kryptonian. They could become a super Kryptonian god. However, they need 5 Kryptonians to do the ritual on all of them. And this is where we see some of the other Kryptonians fly in, and then they see some from space and time that is cracking all around them. Some alternate versions of Superman, some of Zod, some of Superboy, some of Hell, like Hell the character. And they all are messaged by the Supreme Kai, and Goku even cheers them on. He lends them some of their energy, even though he ain't got much left. and the Kryptonians all lend their power to Rayo and Gohanna, and they begin to feel something. And the Supreme Kai tells them to unleash their power and fire the most powerful attack they can, as they then put their hands together in unison and use their father's signature.
Ready,
Through their combined Kryptonian and Saiyan power, they have finally defeated the ultimate evil and saved the multiverse. Now, for real, everybody is laid out and they can't do nothing. And Gohanna and Rayo are much, much more powerful now. However, this is not the end, as they then see the time entity, or the dark multiverse entity die. The positive multiverse entity comes to cradle it and help it out, oddly enough, as they are brother and sister themselves. We then see the appearance of one of the Time Lords that has been eluding us ever since I first told you about the Supreme Kai Time, the Hakai of Time. Finally, the Angel of Time shows up and has some news for all of our heroes. But that's in the next part, the finale.